There we go. Hey folks, how are we all doing? A little bit later than scheduled, some little tech issues and some late breaking news. Not the kind of news we wanted, but Jer here anyway to get us started, and joined by Alex from the American in Leeds podcast. We've done a bit of work together over the last month or so. And Alex has agreed to join. We may be joined by Michael at some point. He's currently working, so we're trying to get Michael on as well. So we're going to start off. I was going to start this off, Alex, by saying this time yesterday we were on your podcast talking about late breaking news that Cody Gakpo was about to sign for Leeds. And then we woke up this morning to a tweet from Phil Hayes saying deal was off. And it turns out the player has been talked out of it by Louis van Gaal. That's the start of today. That was just the start of today. Then Bamba Dieng looks like he's signing from Marseille. He's gone off. He's decided while on the tarmac by the plane in the hangar to speak to Nice instead and go to Nice for a permanent move there on a 5-year contract. And apparently now he has failed his medical at Nice, which means he probably would have failed his medical at Leeds. It doesn't excuse the absolute sham of a day that today has been in terms of Radrizzani's tweets and comments. But what is your take, Alex, on this just mad 24-hour period?
I mean, you couldn't make it up. This guy's deciding that he's on the plane. Radrizzani's he's responding to YouTube creators. I mean, it's just it's wild. You just couldn't make this stuff up. And then nothing's done. I mean, I'm a fan of the club and football, but nothing's done until they're holding up the shirt from the club's official, and you have the owner of the club tweeting and adding a YouTube creator who's great, Ali Ward. Shout out to him. He's great. I follow some of his content, but it just is so. I mean, you're a billionaire. You run organizations. What are you doing? And so yes, absolutely. It's a get him on the show. Absolutely. It's just it's karma, and you couldn't make it up. And then so Nice steal or apparently we're to steal the deal. And now, as you said, he's failed the medical, but it's just you just couldn't make it up. I'm a little bit younger in my Leeds United fandom than Michael and Gier. Michael had a great little thing in the DMs. All weeds are we. All in the weeds are we, something like that, or this is the United I know and love.
All in the weeds, aren't we?
Aren't we? Yeah.
Weeds. Michael,
hey,
we're just thanks for joining. Also, lads, by the way, I appreciate that leaving me here on my own tonight. So thank you very much for keeping me company. I have Twitter open on my second screen here, and I'm constantly refreshing it because for reasons unknown to me, I've gone from being an eternal pessimist to being an optimist, and I don't know what happened. I think our early foray into the transfer window changed me, but or Jesse Marsh's personality has got me a little bit cheerier. But given what's happened today, what's your take on this? Because I don't know what to make of it anymore.
Well, the news that that Dieng has failed his medical just came to me now. I might be a little bit behind because I was
just now
doing some stuff for work, but oh my goodness. I mean, I guess does that change things at all? I don't know.
Still the striker.
It's embarrassing. The way that this has gone down is embarrassing, and I think that embarrassment is compounded by the way that the chairman of the club, the majority owner of the club, has conducted himself on Twitter, responding to people with, well, everyone saw the tweet, right? Like, I mean, oh yes, let's all welcome this new player who wasn't even ours at that point. And the whole point of that tweet was to get people off of his back and off of the club's back because they failed to land somebody else. And then they failed to land that one too. Like, it's just such a shambles. We've talked often previously on the American and Leeds podcast about, and just something that you raised about making a rod for your own back.
Yeah.
And Radrizzani's done it again.
we seem to be specialists at putting our foot in it. And I tweeted Radrizzani about an hour ago, and I just said, and I tagged Leeds directly. And I don't normally do that, but I just decided, he's responding to content creators. Why not? And I just said, stop tweeting. You're making it worse. And then I went, at Leeds United, can someone please take his phone off of him? Because his antics over the last 2 days are very Massimo Cellino-esque in terms of just embarrassing the club and embarrassing the fan base. And I have been super supportive of Radrizzani, and I even put a tweet out the other day saying, we've lived through all the other owners that have been awful to be through and miserable years at Leeds, and he's got us back in the Premier League. But whatever he thought yesterday, liking that tweet about Gakpo, that was the first mistake.
Yep.
Then responding to a content creator on Twitter, and the bit that got me was the content creator said, along the lines of, I'm paraphrasing here, but along the lines of, we know it's an underwhelming signing because it's not Gakpo, but get behind him anyway. And Radrizzani said, agreed. So you're agreeing that it's an underwhelming signing. The player hasn't even got on the plane yet, and you're agreeing it's an underwhelming signing. And then it falls true, and you look silly. So then you go back to Twitter again, and you say the player screwed us, which isn't professional. As you said, Alex, he's running a business. It's a club, it's a brand. And it's highly embarrassing, I think, what he's done to Leeds today and yesterday. And he owes the fans an apology. If nothing else, if he's got his phone on him and he's tweeting, tweet an apology. Not signing players, because I think we've had a good window. I think we've had a very good early window. We got our business done at the right time, and we're definitely stronger. But we are only another injury away from a proper crisis up front. And with Dan James sitting in Fulham, waiting on his loan deal to be approved, there's two sides to it. One, you're messing around that player again, who has been messed around repeatedly since he joined Leeds, and it's unfair on the player. And the second side of it is, he's been here before as well, and we shouldn't be letting a player leave if we're not going to bring it in. And again, Alex said before we came live, we're one of the few teams that have managed to finish the transfer window currently, as it stands, weaker than we started it. We've lost a player and we haven't replaced him. Now, according to TalkSport, the deal is done with Dan James, but Phil Hayes said he's still waiting to hear confirmation that it's done. So we'll wait and see what happens there. But I want to kind of split this into two different sections. The transfer window itself and deadline day as two separate entities, because I don't think they're the same thing. So, yeah, I think he's let us down, and I think he needs to address that. And Angus Kinnear gaslighting comments last week in the program now look even worse than they did yesterday. So there's a bit there. So let's park today for a second, and let's just briefly talk about how you guys feel the transfer window up till this point has gone. Alex, we start with you.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I give it a God. It's so hard to really divorce today. I give it a B, I guess. I don't know. I think, well, no, it's going to go lower now. C. I mean, it just seems the left back thing seems so obvious, and everyone was asking about left back because Firpo, and we never got a left back in. I trust the brain trust, but now Llorente's out of form, and we're not able to move Pascal over. So I just and then I can't look past today. I mean, it's a net spend of what, $2 million. So I give it a C. I do want to touch a little bit on just the Dan James, because you mentioned it. Not only did we make ourselves weaker, we strengthened a team that will possibly and probably be in and around us with Fulham. Yeah. That's the problem. That's the biggest problem about today. And so I don't know. I'm hoping that that none of this is signed, that Jesse's able to take him around his arm or take him around his shoulder. And I don't know. And hopefully take him back into the club. And then what's becoming apparent as you were talking about Radrizzani's behavior, is that we have like this, it's becoming apparent that he is a championship owner in the Premier League, if that makes any sense. Yeah. And where the club needs to be eventually is that we need a Premier League owner, and whether that's the 49ers or somebody else coming in, because it's just, it's childlike behavior. As you said, it's kind of Massimino behavior, and letting these things slip through the cracks, these gaffes. It's just it's. I hate to say it, but today's behavior is almost inexcusable. And if it was another industry, if it was another profession, the person, everybody's accountable to somebody in life. This person there would be consequences for it. So anyways, I'm really hoping that the news comes out today that we do get somebody. I don't know, maybe something's going to turn around. Nothing's going to be announced until, the dust is settled, but I'm still hopeful, I guess, but I'm also extremely disappointed in the owner's behavior.
Yeah. Michael, just before I jump to you and get your opinion on this, there's just a couple of things in chat just to box off real quick. So this question that's come in from Mark Johnson: is Somerville a better option than Dan James? I don't know currently. I haven't seen Somerville play this season. I'm not 100% sure he is ready yet for regular first team games. He looked okay in the cup match. A few moments that looked a bit okay, but I still don't think he's strong enough. And then the other one that came up here, which I thought was an interesting one. I'm going to scroll back now. There's a lot of people. Also, thanks to everyone who's watching this, by the way. That's a big number. And I'm, again, as I keep saying, I'm really shocked at this stuff that people watch this. But there you go. Thanks for joining us. Where we go? Where is it? Where was it? There's too many chats. Can't find it. Doesn't matter. Oh, yeah. Perot. So people are saying that Fabrizio Romano said that we're trying to get a deal done. He said that about over an hour ago, and there's been nothing since then. And on Perot, Baron Cross from Leeds Live has said that there's nothing in that. There's nothing in Perot. He checked, and Perot is not coming to Leeds. That's what he said. But
this is Perot from Swansea.
Yes. Could you imagine the irony of Dan James sitting and waiting on a phone call from Leeds in Fulham, and Leeds waiting on Swansea again to answer a phone? Could you imagine the irony of that? Yeah. And then the other thing as well is we had the 2017 "Don't Go to Bed Just Late" tweets, and now today we have the Radrizzani "Let's Welcome Bamba Dieng to Leeds" tweet. So, Michael, what's your take on the window so far?
Yeah, my view on the window has been from the start that it's been a C. It's been in the 60s. 60% range so far. I'm guessing maybe actually the grading system is a bit different in the UK and Ireland than it is over here. But yeah, it's not been. Let's go at a rating of 10. It's a 6 point something out of 10. And I think for me there was always potential for it to be higher than that if we did the last two pieces of business that I think were really critical for us to do, which is a number 9 and a left back. And there are a lot of reasons that we need those. Obviously, our striking line is in trouble always with injuries. We don't have, reliable players there. We only have Bamford that really fits that profile. We need another player that can do that job when Bamford can't, and to fill in and to even push Bamford for that spot. And then the left back situation for me is even more critical, only because I think, to say nothing about Struck, who's done, I think, a really wonderful job there. But it's not his natural position. We know that the issues there that keep coming up because he's there, because it means we have two right footers playing in center back right now with Cooper out. If anyone there gets injured, we have no cover at all at left back if Struck has to move in. It's just not an ideal situation. And I think it's causing us to be leaky at the back. Not as leaky as we were perhaps at the worst points of last season, of course, but I think there are a lot of things that we could have been able to deal with so far this season had we had a proper left back playing in their spot. Southampton comes to mind as a perfect example of that. So, yeah, for me, there's two glaring holes. I'm quite pleased that we've spread the Calvin Phillips and hopefully the Rafinha money that may come in tomorrow around to build out the squad. Yeah, to build out the squad in a lot of ways that we needed to, but we're still short. And everyone's known this. This is not a surprise. It didn't need to wait until the very last day. It could have been addressed before then. I know that they were trying to wait, till later on for dominoes to fall or deals to happen or whatever. But that's a gamble, and we've seen what happens. We didn't win the gamble today.
Yeah, we've been here before. I mean,
yeah.
My news video this morning, I read out all the strikers that Leeds have been linked with so far in this window, and and I'll fly through them real quick. Hwang at Wolves, Dieng at Marseille, Gnonto at Zurich, Terrier at Rennes, Burton Diaz at Blackburn, Watkins at Villa, Sarr at Watford, Pulisic at Chelsea, Kalajdzic, who's now at Wolves, Callum Wendy, who's now at Rennes, Keane, who's now, Juve/Everton, De Ketelaere, who's now Milan, Broja, who's still at Chelsea, and Adams, who's at Southampton. That's an incredible list of strikers that Leeds have been linked with this year. And you can go back over the last 2 or 3 transfer windows and say there's probably a bit of truth in all of them, because they've either been linked with them or made a move for them at some point. But then, and I said this on a tweet again today, there is a point where you have to look at the common denominator when things are going wrong. This is not the first time we've been here. This is not the second time we've been here. And today, it's not the third time that we've been here. Dan James, CDK, Gakpo, and Dieng. In the last 2 years, we have been in this situation. Why people leave their business till the last day, I don't know. I know Sky have monetized deadline day and branded it as a thing. And a lot of people think if you haven't done any business on deadline day, then you haven't done any business in the transfer window. We were really clever. We got all of our stuff done early. It just needed those last 2 bits.
Yep.
Whether the money was there from Rafinha or not, the top pattern should have been, it's coming. We've got plenty of money in our ownership. As we said, Radrizzani is not a poor man. He's a billionaire. 49ers are not a poor group of people, and we'll get to their connection with Radrizzani in a bit. But there was options early in the window to move for strikers. Like Dieng, fair enough, it's fallen through now, but I mean, we can say we dodged a bullet right now, but we still haven't brought a striker in that we still needed this time yesterday. And sitting here this time yesterday, the 3 of us were talking about Cody Gakpo coming in. And here we are, 25 minutes left in the window, and we haven't signed anybody. And in fact, we've had another striker turn us down. Why are these people turning us down at the last minute is a big concern for me. Gakpo decides this morning, plane is booked for him, terms are agreed. He decides this morning, I'm not coming to Leeds. Dieng is sitting at an airport beside an airplane. He decides he's not coming to Leeds. What's being said to these players? What kind of negotiation is going on behind the scenes? But there's a common denominator here, and it's Arthur and Radrizzani and Kinnear. And I think at some point, they've got to start putting their hands up here and going, we're getting things wrong. You got a lot right this year. And they did get a lot right this year. But we had an open goal last year with the midfield, and they tweeted that Adam Forshaw was our new midfielder. That backfired spectacularly. Kinnear tweeted, I put on the program notes the weekend about us having 2 international caliber strikers. One's injured, one's played once for his country. So that's not true. So, and you've missed the mark again, potentially today. Now, I keep saying potentially because stranger things have happened. There's still 20 minutes left. You can imagine it, but there just doesn't seem to be anything leaking out. And I'd say they are frantically going through their list of people going, is this player an upgrade on what we have? Is there any point in buying this player? Going through the list and going, Burton Diaz, do we buy him? Is there any point in buying him? Is he going to add, or is he going to be able to do the stuff Leeds want? Leeds want a high pressing forward. Burton Diaz doesn't do that. That's not his game. He's a hold-up striker. So I don't know, but it's concerning. Alex has just been attacked by ghosts by the looks of it. Yeah. Any minute you see a shadow walking behind him, we'll all freak out. It's just, it's incredible what's gone on. I think there is some good stuff that's been done, and I've tried very hard to be super positive this window and said we have done some good things, and let's wait. Just hang on and wait. It's getting harder. It's 20 minutes to go, and outside of everything else, they just made us look a bit silly. So I think Sky Sports were laughing at us tonight. Like that hurts. You know, if Leeds sell 300,000 shirts a year, there's 300,000 fans minimum that are looking at that going, you made us look like clowns tonight. And it was so unnecessary and so avoidable. It just didn't need to be done. But I don't know, guys. What do you think's next? Do you think we'll do something, or do you think that's it? Alex?
I'm hoping we do something. And you're right. I mean, I don't know.
It means I'm sorry. I didn't know the answer.
Sorry. No, but we're getting so.
Sorry, my Alexa beside my computer just turned on and started answering a question that was never asked.
Alexa, Alex, It's close. No, I look. I hope we get somebody. I was almost, as you said, taken over by ghosts there, but no, I hope we get somebody. I hope we'll see. But there is something to that when these deals are so close, and then they're going, yeah, you know what? They can't. It strikes me as they can't close.
Yeah.
They can't close the deal. They get everybody. They get them interested, and then they're moving them along the process. And now it's time to put sign on the dotted line, and they can't do it. So there's something there. There's something about that salesmanship, that final stage of salesmanship where they, I don't know, they you know, they pee down their legs. Something happens. They show up, they throw up something, and the players are going, no. Gentlemen, I got to go. I'll let you guys go to keep it going. And
cool.
Jared, thanks so much for having me on the show.
No, Alex, thanks. Guys, if you want to follow Alex, by the way, American Leeds Podcast on YouTube, and you'll get him on Twitter as well. His handle is there. Thanks, Alex.
See you, Alex.
Michael.
Just to follow up on what Alex was saying, it's interesting that this is where we are right now, because closing the deal was supposedly one of the specialties of having Orta there in the first place. He would go with these presentations, these PowerPoints, show the players exactly how we were going to make them better, how we were going to use them, what we thought their strengths were, like all these things. And he would tempt them. Now, was he able to do that because of Bielsa, and maybe not able to do that now because the coach that we have, and I'm not saying this to sort of slag off Marsh at all, but he doesn't have the cachet that Bielsa did. He's not the same level of known, quality in terms of being able to coach players to make them better. Is it the system? Are they concerned that playing in this particular system won't allow them to stand out in the way that perhaps Bielsa's system would? Something has definitely changed. Yeah. And I mean, it's sort of a new phenomenon. And, the only thing I can think of is perhaps it's that we no longer have the same pull that we had before. The same key point to the sales pitch seems to be missing.
That's an interesting one. I'm going to have a quick check of that. Romano saying, hold the back page. Please don't say, please don't say things like that. We've been here before. Don't. It's like a PTSD for 2017. I haven't got over fully yet. It's just another deadline day where Leeds managed to make themselves, well, what would we say, pie on their face.
Yeah, Romano's saying, we're still doing business. Hold the back page. I can say the only reason I'm not going to bed is because I'm 5 hours behind here.
Yeah, I would be in bed now only for.
It's only 5:45. Like that's why I'm not going to bed yet.
I got up this morning, Michael, and somebody had tweeted, "Don't go to bed yet," and my response was, "I just got up, man. I'm only up. Give me a sec."
Yeah,
it's yeah. If he is saying that, Grant, I can't see it, but if he is saying that, great. But I think it's again another win that just things that happened that didn't need to happen. And there's a great comment there. Again, there's too many comments to try and get through. I'm not used to doing. I haven't done this in a while, lads. Where are you? I think there we go. From Kellyanne. Does anyone honestly believe we'll do any business in January? Not unless we get mega rich owners. I'm skeptical about January. And the comment again in Radrizzani's tweet about we'll go back from in January, Gakpo in January. I found it to be weird. One, you're highlighting a player you're going to go after, which means other clubs can move for him. Secondly, you're talking about January, and we have a horrible history in January. Like we've a desperate record when it comes to January. And the other piece with it as well, when it comes to January, is Kinnear has said himself, we don't like doing business in January. Fees are elevated, and there's no guarantee Gakpo will be available. Same way we were going to go back when we tried to sign Aronson in January, we made a balls at that as well. And then we'll go back from the summer. We were blessed that we stayed up, because by not signing him in January, we lost out on a midfielder for the remainder of the season who probably would have made the year a lot more comfortable for us. So it's taking chances and it's gambling in areas you don't need to gamble. I still think we're a better team than we were at this time last year. I think we look better. I think the system is working right now. But there is something different. It just Mark Johnson saying he doesn't agree with that. It's not the Bielsa factor, but there is something, Mark, in that. There has to be something that We were closing deals and now we're not.
We
And
were.
that has to be a red flag. There has to be something. And I keep saying to people, I'm not having a go at the ownership. I'm not attacking them, or there's no tone in my tweets usually. What I'm saying is, when you look at the black and white facts that are here, something is off. And the common denominator is the people that are negotiating these deals. Why are people pulling out of these deals at the last second? And it's not once, it's not twice, it was 3 times. So, as I say, once is an instance, twice is a coincidence, 3 times is a trend. And you should always look at trends. So it's strange. And I agree with Stephen here, who just said we've undone all the good work that we did earlier in the window. And I think so, because you've left 2 massive gaps, left back, striker, and it's still, there's still issues that need to be fixed.
And down another serviceable squad player, right? If Dan James is gone,
Dan James was correct.
We're down another serviceable squad player. Not, say what you will about Dan James. I know he's got a lot of detractors. I know that he's not performing really, really well, but it's also a senior player in the squad, and now we're down one instead of building. I mean, again, 15 minutes left? Who knows? But in terms of the poll that we had before, I mean, the players that we're signing now, and I think we've done a good job, like I said before, up to this point in the window. I think it's a 6.5 out of 10, something around there, which is not a terrible score. It's not a great score. The reason why it's there is because we have 2 glaring holes that we're not addressing, for me anyway. But I think, a lot of the players that we are attracting now sort of fit into that reclamation project, give the player a chance to rebuild their career at Leeds sort of thing, right? So you look at Rocca, you look at Tyler Adams, same deal. I mean, Firpo last season, that was sort of similar kind of thing. So we're getting players that are coming to us now because we're willing to take a chance on them. Previously, like when we first came up, we were signing players who were on the up. Robin Koch, Rafinha, obviously being the biggest one. These weren't reclamation projects. These were players who were coming to us because they bought into the project. They thought it was going to be good for them. They thought it would be a launching point for their careers. Now I'm not sure that that's the case. Now I think it's more rescuing careers from the bench, or from worse than the bench. And there's a bit of a difference.
There's a huge difference, and it's about signing the players at this stage that's going to push the club onto the next level and not maintain it where it was last year, or maintain it even where it is. You need to have these players in different positions to change a game, and we saw that against Everton when we couldn't unlock the door and we didn't have anything different to bring off the bench, and there was only Bamford. We didn't have an option when Rodrigo got injured. We didn't have a real option. Joffe came on and was taken off again, and then Bamford went on, which tells you there wasn't a real option to go in there and play in that role. Yeah. Jesse Marsh has said since the start of the transfer window, since the summer, he has said we need a striker. I want a striker for balance. So the manager has said repeatedly that he wanted this position filled, and we didn't fill it. And that has to be annoying him as well. I just stuck this up on the screen. Sorry to interrupt you, Michael. I wasn't trying to be rude, but this is what Romano has just tweeted. Dan James completed medicals as a Fulham player. Deal agreed. While Leeds are working on a new signing after the Dieng story. So maybe there's still some miles left in it, but they are leaving it very, 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 very late. But we'll see what happens. Michael, you're a man that has a bit of knowledge about the 49ers situation with Leeds. What's going on there? Like, what is? I know from one thing that I read about the way that the deal is set up is that they can only invest what Radrizzani invests. Is that just with transfer funds, or is that all up with everything?
My understanding, well, leaving aside the stadium investments and that sort of thing, because I'm not really sure what the agreements are there. I don't think anybody is really sure what's going on there. They make announcements and then sort of walk them back, and then nothing really seems to progress. But, I think the way it sort of works when you have, shareholders, if one shareholder has to put in money to the club for whatever, then the others have to do it as well if they have the same type of shares, which I have all reason to believe that they do. So whenever there's a shareholder transfer, because otherwise what happens is you're sort of, if you're putting money into the club, then you're diluting share values, right? If they're just, if you're buying shares, or the other side's buying shares. So as I understand it, if Radrizzani puts money in, then the 49ers have to put, their equivalent amount of money in order to keep parity. in line with the amount of shares that they have. The issue is that if the 49ers want to put money in to help us buy a player, maybe Radrizzani doesn't have the money and the 49ers do. The issue then becomes, well, yeah, that's going to happen, but it's going to happen, at the cost of Radrizzani giving up more shares. And I think he's probably in a position where he doesn't want to do that. He's basically said he's not looking to let go of control of the club at this point. So I without knowing for sure if that is the dynamic, it certainly makes sense to me. And some of what I've heard is that, the 49ers have money to invest, but they really can't unless Rads also invests. And clearly we're not putting any more money in than what we're making this year, right? The net spend is basically around zero. So that seems to be what's playing out right now, which is difficult. It makes it very, very difficult to do business. And, people have said all along, the longer this goes on, where we sort of have two owners with huge amounts of shares, Rads is the majority owner, but only by a little bit. Like the 49ers have, what's it, 44%?
44%, yeah.
Right. So how much are they going to sit back and just take whatever Rads wants to do when 44% of the investment is theirs? They do have representation on the board, but if they're constantly being overruled and they're not allowed to invest more, it's going to create friction.
Yeah, and like Parag is the man that's the visible face of the 49ers. But Jesse Marsh said himself in his press conference about, I think it was 2 weeks ago, they're not around the club. They're not there in the day-to-day. They're not involved in the day-to-day. He doesn't have discussions with the 49ers.
Yep.
It's more kind of a when granddad comes to visit kind of thing. You put the nice spread out for them, you paint the front door and clean everything around the place and make it look nice for them when they come in, that their investment is solid. But there is this situation where, and again, I want to be balanced. And I try my hardest to be balanced with everything. We would not be in the Premier League if it wasn't for Radrizzani. That's a fact, because we've had previous owners who didn't get us there, and he got us there. That is an unadulterated fact, and he will always have that to his credit. However, there is a time when you must realize I can't go any further with this. And this is the first time. And I wrote down, if we're doing the Leicester model, who do we sell next season to fund the transfers? And that's a massive issue, because Phillips and Rafinha are gone. Who else is there that's going to get a big fee that will actually pay for transfers next year? And if the 49ers can't put money in, they can't be happy sitting back and watching this. They can't be happy seeing the reaction. And someone just said, I put up there on the screen about the ownership. They can't be happy sitting there looking at it. There we go. One thing about the 49ers, they don't have leaks, and they won't be doing this on deadline day. Like, you wouldn't be getting this kind of carry on from a company that, like the 49ers Sports Enterprises, who had that share. You just wouldn't see this. Like,
no.
Single owners have this tendency to be a little bit rogue or a little bit, blasé with stuff. And he annoyed me today. He's really pressed the button that hadn't been pressed before. Yeah. And for me, I think there has to be a situation in this where maybe the 49ers look at this and think, now's the time to step in, and we've got to, and they'd be happy what they've got. They've got an American manager, which most American franchise owners try to do at some point when they take over a club. They've already got that in place. They've got a successful American manager. They've got some American players, and the stock is high. American stock is high within the club. It's a good point, but I think they've got another year or 2 years before they can automatically trigger a buyout. And I hope Radrizzani isn't just hanging on to see where we are in 2 years, because if it does come to next season and we're looking at investing money and we have to sell somebody, that's Meslier.
It's
going to be sold.
Yeah.
And you're talking about a 21-year-old goalkeeper who's got, realistically in modern football, with the way they look after themselves, and goalkeepers playing longer, he's got 20 years of his career left. Easy. And you're talking about selling him at 21 years of age, potentially, in order to fund what will be needed next year, which will be a left back. We will probably need a centre half to either start looking at replacing Cooper or Llorente. I know we've got Stroke and we've got Creswell. You're probably going to need to replace Forshaw, because he's getting old as well, and he's in the last year. Luke Ayling's in the last year of his contract as well. Pat Bamford's 29. If you want to have this under 25 years of age squad, these players have to be replaced by somebody. And if the players coming through the youth system aren't strong enough, and they may well end up being, you got to sell somebody. It would be terrible to see someone like Meslier be sold in order to fund transfers, where you could have the 49ers just step in, take over the club and go, yeah, we can spend some money. We're not going to spend crazy money. I don't think any Leeds fan really wants their ownership to realistically be doing what Forest are doing, because that's a That's a huge gamble that Nottingham Forest are taking that from an owner who is, if you look him up online, under investigation for some stuff you shouldn't be doing with money. So that could backfire spectacularly on them. But they have to be in a situation where they're looking at this and thinking, yeah, now is a good time. The fan base is a little bit uneasy. And we said this yesterday on Alex's podcast. If you gaslight your fans in a match day program like Kinnear did, and if you're tweeting the way Radrizzani's tweeting, you're going to get a backlash from the fans earlier than you did last year. And that's the first sign of trouble. You won't get the forgiving 6 months that they got before they were asked to sack the board. And unless he does something substantial in the next 5 minutes, Michael, 5 minutes, then he's made a bad decision to go late. I wouldn't be happy if I was the 49ers.
No, I think Radrizzani's used up pretty much most of the credit, if not all of the credit in the bank at this point. The way that last season was such a disaster, the fact that people are still emotional about what happened with Bielsa. Yeah. And look, that's not to pass judgment on that. I think, what happened. We all, I think most people realized that had to happen with Bielsa, but it didn't have to happen in the sense that it didn't have to be that way. No. So the credit, whatever credit Radrizzani had, for the really significant investments that he made to bring us up, the fact that he was funding the club to like £1 million a month or whatever, during COVID, all of that stuff, he certainly deserves full credit for. But that credit is being spent really quickly and maybe gone or just about gone on the basis of what happened last season, and things like this. Things like what's happened yesterday and today with the irresponsible tweeting, and then, the failure, 3 minutes, apparent failure to actually get it done. It's like bragging about getting it done and then not getting it done and then backtracking and then bragging about the replacement for not getting it done and then losing out on that one too. Like, how much can a fan base take? Patience is wearing thin.
It is running thin. I can't see anything happening in 3 minutes. I really can't. James saying the 49ers have invested in Sacramento Republic in the USL, the league under the MLS. They're going to do that anyway. They're a massive sports company. Drew Berry, it was screwed till January. The only benefit with this is the January window is probably closer than it has ever been in terms of the World Cup's in December. They're gone pretty much from the back end of November. So we've only really got 2 months to kind of limp through to get to limp through is probably a bit harsh. To get through until we can have a break and reassess and maybe try and bring players in. But these players are all gone. Sorry, that's had to throw me completely. Don't make me giggle. Thanks for that, Ziggy. Thomas Brolin signed you. It's in a situation where I've lost my train of thought completely here. Thanks for that, Ziggy. That threw me completely. 2 minutes. Will says 2 minutes to go. Yeah, and I'm on Romano's page because I may as well be on his page than anybody else's. You've only got a couple of weeks really to get to the next set of windows. You get through the back end of September, October, pretty much gone in November, December. I mean, the World Cup squads have been announced in the next 2 weeks. Then you've got a huge gap until they come back in January and the window's open. The only issue with that is the players that you're looking to sign, Gakpo being one of them, are at the World Cup. Yeah. So you're not negotiating with them while they're there. You've got to wait for them to come back, and that's going to delay things as well. And I would like Leeds to do something in future from transfer windows. When you're done, just say you're done. Don't wait till the deadline day. Just say, look, we've done all the business we were going to do. We're done. We're out. Spurs did it tonight. Spurs put a thing out saying that we did our business early. We're happy with what we got. This was always the plan. We're done. And then your fans can relax and go, okay, we can reassess. But when you carry on the way we carried on today and yesterday, it just highlights stuff that's happened before. And we have this PTSD, awful history with deadline day. And then I just...
Talksport just said we're trying to late push to sign BBD. Yeah.
No.
Tweet out 2 minutes before the close, like 5:58 p.m. here, so 10:58 p.m.
If they lodge the paperwork before 11, they get an extension till 1 a.m.
Yes.
Or the other option is season-long loan. Now, he's out of contract at the end of the season, so do you build a fee into that and go, we'll pay you in January, we'll We'll do it the Barcelona way. We'll give you 2 cents now, and we'll give you 50 cents next week, and then in a week's time we'll give you $1 million, and then at the end of the window we'll give you 2 million, and it's done. Yeah, window's closed. So we still have to wait and see what happens. If they are trying to get Diaz, it's a local move. It's only up the road. They could have been doing this earlier on. We'll wait and see what happens. But they've left today. Yeah. If after all this we get BPD, happy days. A lot of people would be happy with that. He's a goal scorer. I don't think he's the kind of player Jesse Marsh necessarily wants. But Blackburn did say earlier on today that he wasn't going anywhere. That they were keeping hold of him. So we'll have to wait and see. Is he the deal, Chris? Yeah, it looks like it. If it is him, Mike, I've been following Leeds for 50 years, and Rads is right up there with some of the good governance mistakes that they made. Yeah, well, I mean, I suppose what we're talking about today, Mike, is what's gone on today, and the social media carry on and the stuff that didn't need to be done today. But we have also acknowledged the fact that he has done some good at Leeds, but you don't want to. I don't want to quote Batman, but you stick around long enough to become the villain, and die a hero or wait, stick around long enough to become a villain. So I don't want him to get to that stage. I would like him to be an owner that we remember as being a good owner, but maybe stay off Twitter. Maybe just don't do social media. You've got a PR team and a social media team there for that. Let them want to do it. Cam, don't cry just yet. That's not just. We've got a decent squad. It's thin, but it's a decent squad, and I think we'll be okay. And Kelly saying, can't believe that we didn't go for Gnonto. They said that they're probably going to look at him in January. He'll have 6 months left on his deal, and they're looking at him for the under-21 team as a breakthrough. So he could still happen in January. Kai Wagner, the left full of Philadelphia Union, is a possible January deal as well, because they want to hang on to him until their season's over. The top of the Eastern Conference, they're pushing for the MLS Cup. So they have reasons to hang on to him. But that's maybe a left back for backup for Firpo in January. We'll have to wait and see what happens in January. Zach, feels like the ceiling through, as guys have said, can continue to support growth beyond. Yeah. You got to look at it. I mean, if you're an owner of a club, you've got to look at it realistically and go, well, can I bring this club where it wants to? Do I want the fan base to turn on me? You've got to see. We're not going to hang on too much longer because we said we just do this for the last hour of the window. Michael, is there any thoughts on it? What do you think is going to happen next? And do you think we're set up to go into the first half of this season properly?
Well, I think even with the business that we've done so far, and even with those glaring holes, that the floor is higher than it was last season. So do I think that we're going to be in trouble in the same way? No. And I mean, the start that we've made is clearly indicative of that. Notwithstanding the fact that Rodrigo is now injured and that he is our leading goal scorer with 4 goals, which is significant. I think there is enough in this team to stay out of trouble as it is. But, anything can happen, and injuries, as we well know, injuries can happen. And we are close. We are close to potentially falling back into trouble. And that's the difficulty for me. So while the floor is higher right now, it could also fall apart. And so again, we're in a situation where we've just made huge risks. Really? Yeah. So Phil Hay saying we may have found a way to do Gnonto from Zurich. And yet, okay, so let's talk about that. That's interesting. But going back not that long ago, that was a player that Marsh said wasn't quite ready for prime time.
Not Premier League ready, he said.
Yeah.
Out straight to Sky Sports, they asked him, do you feel he's a Premier League player? And he went, not yet.
I don't see how that, if that's the attitude, I don't really see how that helps us.
I don't see it either. To be honest with you, I didn't see how Dieng helped us. I got a bit of stick earlier on by saying he scored 7 goals in 30 games, but I don't think he was the player we're looking for either. I think we've got players of that level. I think Joffrey is at that level. I think you could argue that Sonny Perkins is at that level probably as well, without having the opportunities, and maybe even Mateo Joseph as well. So we've made comments about that player that suggest he's not a first team player that Leeds are looking at. And now here we are potentially looking at bringing it in. And I am a 5-year-old child, so I'm going to share this one, but thanks for this, Albie. William Cock in the same team. There we go. Not a good. He is a good signing. He's just not a first team signing. There's a lot of people think there's a lot of talent in him, and there will be. I won't say he's not a good signing. He is. He's got a year left on his deal at Zurich, so it's maybe not a bad time to nip in and get him. There's a lot of clubs are looking at him as well, so that's a good signing. It's just not the one I think we needed now, but definitely down the line. But that's interesting to see Romano saying Diaz and now Phil Hay saying Gnonto. That's someone's not getting the truth, or there's absolute panic happening at Ellen Road right now, and they're just throwing names around the place. But that's one that we'll have to look and see if it happens after we're finished here. But yeah, sorry, Michael. Do you think we're set up for the first half of the season? Do you think we're okay with what we have?
I think we're gonna be okay, but just okay. And honestly, after the season we had last year, that's really not good enough. I mean, I think the stress levels were so high last year, and I think the fact that we were so close to going down is maybe also part of the reason that we're struggling to sign people, because nobody wants to go and join a relegation scrap. So, it puts us in an awkward position. Are we better than last season? Yeah, I think we probably are, but with a bit of bad luck, we could be right back in it again.
Yeah, you're one striker injury away from having no forward, at all. Which is interesting. Gonna share my screen again because this is heating up. 1 sec. There we go. Fabrizio Romano, Leeds are set to sign Wilfried Gnonto from FC Zurich. Deal almost done. Just waiting for work permit. Then it will be final signing. Here we go. Italian talent has agreed personal terms with Leeds. So that's it. Hard to be overwhelmed. It's a little bit underwhelming still.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of comments, and if you just look here, people are saying, "Well, he's played for Italy, but he's not PL ready." I mean, that's not my own opinion, and either. I don't think, Joe. That's just
it's not
what Marsh said.
Yep.
Now, sometimes international managers will hand people a match here or there just to see if they're ready.
And tied him down as well if there's dual nationality there, playing in a competitive game. He has scored for them as well.
Yeah, that's the other thing. But playing day in, day out in the hardest league in the world is its own beast in a lot of ways. And I can't remember who it was, but somebody was saying, playing in the Premier League is like playing in the Champions League. Like there are no easy games. You're always playing against the top teams and the best players. So is he ready for that? Even with, a few Italy caps and a goal, day in, day out. I don't know. I guess we'll see. But certainly Marsh seemed to think that he wasn't when he spoke to, was it Sky, I think, before.
Yeah, and just be clear to everyone watching, that wasn't our comment. That's Jesse Marsh's exact words. And Zach is saying, was that probably a smokescreen? If I'm a player, and I was a player, but when I was a player, if I heard a manager say something like that about me, whether he was smokescreening it or not, and given how late this has come, I don't believe it was a smokescreen at all. No. I don't know how confident I will be walking to that dressing room that I'm going to play. And also the other comment that clashes with this is, we don't want to bring in players that will stop the pathway of other players. Surely at the age that Gnonto is, 18, he is getting in the way or is adding to the mix of Matteo Joseph, Joffe, Sonny Perkins, Max Dean. There's a lot of young, good strikers there, and you're just throwing another one in. You're not getting that experienced Premier League striker that we needed. And if you go back again, Jesse Marsh's comments were, I'm looking for a Premier League ready striker who can hit the ground running. We haven't done that.
Yeah.
So Drew says it'll be fine. I think we will be fine. I don't want to get carried away today. It's been a roller coaster of emotions today. It really has. From I went to bed last night thinking we'd sign Cody Gakpo. I was delighted, slept like a baby. Thought this is great. We're finally, there's a statement of intent by the club. What a signing that is. And then we're closing the day off by signing Wilfried Gnonto, an 18-year-old. And you're like, okay, maybe he could be great. He could be fantastic. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. Drew, I think, just to follow up as well, I think we will be fine, but we are, my issue again is just that we are a little bit of bad luck away from not being fine. And that could have been resolved had we built up the squad a little bit more, not sending Dan James out and replacing him now apparently with an 18-year-old, unproven That's the difficulty. So someone, if we had brought in someone in the defense, someone like a left back, as has been mentioned, and we brought in a Premier League ready striker, and maybe Gnonto will be a Premier League, who knows? But we can only go based on what the coach has said, and he's previously said that he's not. So
Yeah,
we are probably fine, but we are a little bit of bad luck away from not being fine. And 2 seasons of that in a row is really not something that this fan base deserves.
I was going to say we're due a bit of luck, but I think we got that against Brentford. I think that was our one moment in the God. How long was born in Leeds since I was 16? No, 13. God, since I was 13, and that's our one bit of luck that I've seen.
Chris Wood on loan. Who says no?
Amanda can't score goals, so let's why not? I heard somebody else saying let's bring back Danny Rose. An overweight has been left back. We've been thrown out of 2 clubs. Let's bring him back because he was born in Leeds. Let's bring him back. No, absolutely not. It's going to be interesting. I think we are in a better place, but I think Jesse is managing the injuries better than maybe Bielsa did. I don't think he's pushing them as hard. He's giving them rest days and time off, which will definitely help. So I think we're in a safer spot. Good news today about Rodrigo's injury is it looks like it's only going to be 3 to 4 weeks. It doesn't seem to be any major damage. There is an international break coming up, so he'll be back after the international break, and Rodrigo reckons himself he'd be good to go in less time than 3 to 4 weeks. So there mustn't be any ligament damage gone there. And the other good news today was that everyone's back in training except for Stuart Dallas. So it's a full fit squad. Let's just hope it stays that way. Thanks. This has been great.
The comments are great.
They're fantastic. These are brilliant. Look at this. There we go. That's Bring back Mirko Antonucci. I still follow Mirko Antonucci, and he's still banging goals away in Serie B or Serie C. I love that man. I thought we should have hung on to him. He was a cracking striker. I loved him a lot.
I like him too.
Why not? Let's throw this one in. Free Willy, let him loose in the Prem. Let's see what happens. Right, folks, we're going to wrap up just on the hour now. Thank you for everyone that's popped by to join us. I will be doing a video in the morning. I think we've covered everything already, but we'll, need them views. So I'll do one in the morning anyway, and we'll see if we get on. A massive thanks to everyone who's been chatting away. If I haven't shared your comments, I'm sorry. We'll get to them next time. And yeah, we'll see how we go. Windows closed. We'll see if this deal gets done the next hour or two. We'll know by 1 a.m. I'd say if the paperwork has been filed in time, and we'll wait and see what happens. And yeah, we'll wrap it there. If you want to follow Michael is on Twitter. I'm going to go back to my old view, which doesn't look as good now because there's only 2 of us. I can't even see your Twitter tag. Michael, what's your Twitter handle?
At Maynard M.
At Maynard M. A man who knows the stuff about football. Go follow him. And if you're a fan of this channel and stuff that we do here, you can like and subscribe down the bottom and all that. And Alex, who was on with us earlier on the American Elites podcast, another really good channel to go and have a look at. So, folks, thanks very much for stopping by, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.